What does failure mean to you? Have you ever thought of this question? You can turn every failure into a data point towards success. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Lydia here. So in today's video, I just want to tell you the secret of how to turn failure into a stepping stone of success. Let's get to it. I don't know what you think of failure. A lot of people might think that failure means embarrassment, it's just a huge amount of personal setback. And some other people might think that it's a data point, it's a way to success. And for me, I think failure is something that is unavoidable, and now more and more often I think of failure as a data point, as an experiment, because life itself is like an experiment. So a lot of success people actually have enough failure for them to become successful. And I'm sure you have heard of this difference between growth mindset and fixed mindset. It's Dr. Carol Dweck, and she has this book called Mindset. She explained this difference between growth mindset and fixed mindset. It's actually very common in the startup world, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're a startup founder. It's basically unavoidable. Every single day you will experience a lot of failure. And let's look at the statistics. About 90% of the startup fail, and about 75% of the venture-backed companies doesn't survive, which is not surprising, because if you want to build something, if you want to make something, if you're a creator of things, you unavoidably need to experiment, to try and fail and try. And the difference between successful startups or successful people is they view failure differently. And I'm sure you've heard of a lot of quotes, and I'll just share a little bit of them here and now. For example, Thomas Edison said, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." And Michael Jordan, who has famously emphasized, "I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." Personally, I used to view failure as really bad, because I was a super good student growing up, and also my cultural background, we always feel failure is more like very heavily, like people say, "Oh, you failed this time and you have to be 100% and 200% overperform." Even like for me in my family, if I'm not number one, it's almost as if I have failed. So I never really felt good enough in my life in the past. But I think culturally speaking, in more individual cultures, say for example when I went to the United States for my graduate school, I think people are more experimental, and they will want to encourage you to try. Also, it depends on where you are. In the west coast of the US, in California for example, there are a lot of entrepreneurs there, and the people who want to take more risk, and they will have a different view about failure as well. And when I talk to my friends who are more entrepreneurial, they will actually view failure as a good thing, because you just learn a way that won't work. It means that you can fail, but fail fast. And also it's an interesting experience when I, for example, in my various effort of trying to stay healthy, I sometimes go for yoga class, and the yoga teacher will be like, "You might fail, but just start again." I think that's the common attitude for people who have done very hard things. If you want to achieve something, you would unavoidably fail. So these are all the quotes and studies just to keep you be hopeful. It doesn't matter if you fail, or it doesn't matter if you fail at one point or many times. It's just a way for you to see the success. In this part of the video, I want to offer a way that you can actually transform the way that you associate with failure to something that's fun, and gamify this. It's called failure journal. So I have been keeping a failure journal for the past 6-7 months. So I listened to this podcast that it's a Harvard professor. His name is Arthur Brooks. So he has co-wrote this book with Oprah. This book's name is Build the Life You Want. So I don't specifically remember whether he mentioned this in his book, but he has mentioned it in one of his interviews in the podcast. He actually gives his homework to his students and asked them to keep a failure journal, and this is how it works. And I have been keeping this journal for the past 7 months. It's really helpful. So once you have something that you yourself think it's a failure, you just open whatever notebook that you have. I have it on Notion. I think I'll also create a template for you so that you can download it, just use it for yourself. I'll put a link in the show notes as well. So here's how it works. Whenever you have a failure, you put it down the day, the title of the failure, and what has happened, and then you set a reminder on your calendar and put it 1 month later to look it back again and write a sentence about how you feel about this failure, and then 6 months later to write another sentence about how you feel about this failure. You'll be very surprised because I have like 5-6 entries on this thing. I don't even have to wait for 6 months. Just after a month, the whole perspective of how I view this has completely changed. And after 6 months, you'll be surprised to see how life have evolved. And it's sometimes either like you don't even care about this anymore, or actually it's a good thing for things that has evolved in your life. So it's really, really fun. Because I've been keeping this failure journal in this past 6 months, I more and more now, I have transformed my relationship with failure as if it's like a data point. I look at it as I'm working in the lab, just looking at this data as a data point for me, for myself. What does it mean to me? And every single time I gain more perspective and I have more insights about failure for myself. And that's the failure journal. I highly, highly recommend this. Yeah, so that's it. It's a very short video today. I just wanted to share my idea and my experience about how I view and transform the relationship between me and how I look at failure and how it has helped me. Because ever since I keep that journal, I can see that I can more and more willing to take risk, and I'm more able to and willing to experiment different ideas. Because of how I view failure, I also care less about how other people look at me and how they think what has happened to me. Because honestly, if you have heard of this spotlight effect, I've talked about it a long time ago. Nobody really cares what you do. So that's today's video. I will encourage you to start your own failure journal. You can download the template and let me know about one of your failure that you think you wanted to share, and what has changed after you view it differently, and how do you think of failure in general. And I hope this video is helpful. If you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. And if you like this video, really helps the channel a lot, and share with your friends and family. I hope that you can turn every failure that you think is a failure into a data point towards success. I will see you in the next video.